First and foremost, I think let me wish you all a very auspicious Saraswati Puja. And yes, we tend to remember her this one day of the year. But I think personally, Saraswati is one goddess who I think is constantly there. She's like a constant teacher. She's the guide. She is your inspiration. She is your entire creativity. So I think this book is more about, is not she just as a goddess. I think she being beyond a goddess, where I think there is a certain abstract notion about her. There's a certain spiritual notion about her. And most importantly, I think there is a very intelligent factor about her. She is a personification of intelligence, of knowledge, of information, of education, of wisdom. And I think the book tries to deal with this distinction between these words which we tend to use very easily. So I think she, of course, is... I think in the book I have also tried to show her as the river goddess. We have to remember she's just not a goddess, she's also a river goddess. And what does a river goddess actually mean? And the fact that Saraswati, the river, is not there on earth anymore. So I think I have taken that as not just as an allegory, but literally where there is a certain scenario where just like the river vanished, what would happen to the world if knowledge vanishes from the earth? In today's world where we are talking more about power and money and less about intelligence and information. And again, I think coming back to the title of the book, Saraswati's gift. Now, what is that gift? And if that gift, we have been blessed with that gift, how are we using it? Are we using it? Are we misusing it? Are we abusing it? And I think the whole, she, more than being a goddess, I think it's about she vis-a-vis mankind, she vis-a-vis humanity. So here the divine is more about, not just about the divine and the mortal, it's about how we as earthlings have interpret Saraswati, and how are we interpreting the information, the knowledge, the learning, the music and the arts in today's world. How are we really using it? So I think it's not just about her story, it's our story as well. I think it's a lesson. I think mythology itself is a literary device. I think it is it's sort of an elaborate backdrop to contemporary sensibility and ideas, because these are not old stories which we are sort of retelling and it's revisioning and sort of reinterpreting. It's the same. It's the universe. They carry a certain universal truth. They are talking about universal emotions and universal experiences. They are talking about love and loyalty, revenge, retribution, hope and disappointment. I mean, everything is there. Nothing has really changed. But it's not a story about gods and goddesses at all. It's a story about man, about us. They are our story about man, his faults, his flaws, his hopes, his inner battles, his outer battles. And how eventually it's about his trials and triumphs. So I think it is a perfect creative tool to, it's sort of a canvas you can color it with today's times, with today's, there's a certain relevance. And I think that is why these stories are so relatable, because we identify with them, we identify with the character, we identify with the situation, the dilemmas the characters are in, because they are our stories. I think that is where we tend to sort of misunderstand mythology. We think they are stories of some ancient legends and lords, but they are not. They're very much relevant, relatable stories, that's why I think this genre particularly is popular. First, I think a certain discipline that you write every day. I never write in the night, honestly, because there is a time for, I think the ideas keep popping up, there's brainstorming, so I usually keep a small writing pad and jot down the points so that I can sort of go back to them the next morning. And third, writing skill, what is the third one? Oh, I don't have a desk. I never have a desk because I feel very constrained writing on a desk. So wherever there's lots of sunlight and greenery, I just go sit near the window and I write. I just need light and greenery. So I hate writing on a desk. I mean, I think I have written enough on a desk as a journalist, so I think, no, I don't want to do that. I think it is sort of very symbolic for me that I don't want to be sort of restrained by any sort of, by a physical entity called a desk or rules or regulation. I think it's just a personal discipline. That's all. I think you need a discipline. And third, I think I have a personal deadline. I always keep a deadline for myself. I think that is because I was a journalist. I tend to be a little archaic, but yes, I definitely love. I like Yugand, Viravati Karvel, then Kiran Nagarkar's Takhor. Anna Karenina is my favorite. Any short stories of Somerset Maugham. And the fifth, what am I reading now? Actually, I'm not. Fifth will be myself. Okay, chalo, let me be a little egotistic then. Read. I think the first thing for writing is you have to read well. You have to write well. To write well, you have to read well in the sense. And the third, I think you have to tell a story well. It's very easy to, if you're, especially, I'm not talking about non-fiction here, I'm talking about fiction. Storytelling is also an art. This whole thing of the power of storytelling. You should know how to tell a story. Now I'll tell you a very personal example where I was a terrible bedtime storyteller. Ask my daughters, they'll tell me, they can't believe that I became an author. Because they said, so I think I could tell a story well by writing, not by saying, by narration. So, but I think generally you should sort of fine tune that technique of telling a story. So I think that is very important. How you treat the subject is very important. So I think this would be the three. Another remarkable woman, but whom we seem to have forgotten in the epics, it's sort of buried under the epics. So yes.